What up, everybody? It's the Built Different Podcast. Our first guest to ever return back on the show, Estado, and a new guest, Cleveland Berto. So Cleveland, audience already met Estado, but we will let you go after Cleveland. But Cleveland, if you could introduce yourself, just let the audience know who you are, what you're about, and everything like that.
First off, I am an avid fight fan. Come from a family of fighters. My brother James Edson fought in Strike Force, Elite XC, and my other brother Andre Berto was welterweight boxing champ, fought Floyd Mayweather, and me myself, I was a Florida State champion, also NCAA nationally ranked in college, and your previous guest, Estado Altidor, is my cousin. So, family. And I am currently an actor. I've been on multiple TV series and movies few that you guys might know is Chicago PD. I've been on the film Journal for Jordan. I'm actually going to be in an upcoming animated series. As you guys can see, I'm in the sound booth right now. Invincible, that's going to be on Amazon, and a few more other shows also.
It's a hell of a resume. I didn't know half of those things. Congrats.
Thank you, brother. And I'm excited to be on this podcast, man. Excited to be on this podcast. Heard a lot.
No, we appreciate you being on, man, and taking the time. And Estado, a first returning guest, if you want to remind the people a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man, this is Estado returning. Background in boxing, came up part of the Berto family, entire family came up in the mixed martial art boxing industry, starting from Cleveland's dad, my uncle, who's in one of the pioneers of UFC and mixed martial art, participated in UFC, participated in Pride, knows all the originators of the sport. And from there, we segued into boxing and, did our thing there. So have a little experience there. Also educationally, gone to school and majored in sports and exercise science, kinesiology. So, I try to sharpen my knowledge on what we've been doing and where we're going now.
So yeah, thanks again, Estado, for coming on.
Fool you guys. Don't let his calm demeanor fool you guys at all. This guy has some very lethal hands. Very fast, very lethal. All right? Just putting that out.
I've never seen him. I've never seen him the hands before. I've seen him training. One day.
Serious business. That guy is right there.
So today we're going to talk about something that me and Estado have been texting about this probably for like how many years now, Estado?
Man, crazy.
This Spence and Crawford fight. First of all, did you guys think the fight? Cleveland, did you think the fight was going to be made? Like, did you actually think it was going to go down? Because there was a lot of speculation, a lot of back and forth. And did you think this fight was actually going to be made? And did you think it would be made this year?
Definitely didn't think it was going to be made this year. Definitely did not. I thought that they were going to drag it out, a la Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. But different things that transpired that allowed this fight to happen. I mean, this fight is actually 12 years in the making without people even knowing. You know what I mean? Like, Crawford was the first undisputed champ in his weight class, and Spence grabbing all of the titles in the welterweight division except for one. And soon as those things transpired around the same time, that's when the buzz started happening. And Crawford was with Bob Arum, and we all know Spence is with Al Heyman and that promotion, and these guys don't rock with each other at all, really. So it took Crawford to see what was going on with his contract and what was going on with his money, and for him to be more of a businessman in a sense. He's always been a competitor, and for him to be able to, get out of that contract to make this epic event happen. So yeah, man, I'm surprised. Me and Estado would be on the line all the time, and I would be talking to my brother also. And everybody wanted to see the fight, even on set. Like I'd be on acting sets, and cats would be asking me, "Yo, do you really think this is perfect example?" I'm on the Journal for Jordan set, hanging out with Michael B. Jordan, hanging out with the director Denzel Washington, and Denzel is like,
Nice.
"Yo, you know what fight I want to watch, Cleve?" And I was like, "I already know what you're gonna say, D." He's like, "You think it's gonna happen? Do you think it's gonna happen?" And I'm like, "To tell you the truth, man, I don't think that's gonna happen. Come on, man, come on, don't tell me that. I need to see it. I need to see it." And he starts shadow boxing because he's a big boxing fan. And he said, "I
Mm-hmm.
will be there front row if that fight ever happens." And lo and behold, stars aligned. And we got a big one, man. We got a big one in the July 29th, Las
Oh
Vegas,
yeah.
T-Mobile
Oh
Arena.
yeah.
Here we go. Two dogs, man. Two dogs. Two dogs. If there's any, if there's
And
dogs in boxing, these are the two dogs.
in Cleveland, Sean was saying, like, if you put the other earpiece in, he might be able to hear you a little better as well.
Okay.
Because your audio is
Okay.
good, but it's still it's all good.
Okay.
Estado, how about yourself? Like, what did you think this fight was going to be made? I know you and I were doing like a lot of back and forth, speculating, and there's the A side, B side. Like Cleveland mentioned, there was both guys were on the opposite sides of the street. Um, did you think it was going to get made? I know you a lot of times clue me in on things that may be happening behind the scenes. Did you foresee it happening this year?
Um, let's say before the Tank Garcia fight, no, because I'm the big guy, I'm the big shot, I'm the A side.
Yeah.
No one could determine who's going to be the A side, who's going to be the B side. I feel like it was an ego thing because they both should have known, and it's obvious to the boxing world and also the fans, the mainstream fans, because it's turning to be mainstream at this point. Um, it doesn't matter who's A side, B side, because it's like a flip of a coin. You have some half saying Spence is going to win. You have the other half who's going to say Crawford is going to win. So it's like just get the fight done. It boiled down to whose name is going to appear first on all the promos. Is it going to be
Hmm.
Spence Crawford or is it going to be Crawford Spence? Who's going to be on the left side of the picture and who's going to be on the right side? It's all the little knickknacks that at the end of the day didn't really matter because
Yeah.
people gonna call it what they're gonna call it. Like if it's officially Spence Crawford, other people's gonna call it Crawford Spence. Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Who's gonna walk out first? All the crazy nuisances that really doesn't matter. Just get the fight made is what was the red tape that kind of held it. Along with money, obviously. But then when um, Ryan Garcia stepped up and took the fight with Tank, and obviously, he made the adjustments to make it happen. And obviously, I
Hmm.
think Tank made a little bit of adjustment, but then you see what Ryan said at the end of the day. It was like, yeah, I had this clause in there and I had that clause in there, but I agreed to everything just to make this fight happen. And boom, after that fight, you see they finally locked it in. There's been
Right.
so many different times, as you and I have been going back and forth for years. Oh, they're talking about it now. It
Yeah.
fell apart. They're talking about it now. It fell apart. It's like you got the smaller guys over here who isn't afraid to fight each other. They're not afraid to fight each other, no matter how big and how popular they are. You see, Ryan Garcia has the craziest following. You see, Tank is becoming the face of boxing, and it's like let's just make this fight. Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. He had to serve his obligations, which is let me fight these mandatories, let me fight the next person who's up for this belt. And once he was able to get most of those individuals out of the way, all right, let's do it. They made it happen. It wasn't all of the all right, we're talking about it, it fell apart. We're talking about it, it fell apart. But when Spence and Crawford, it was a lot of back and forth, not happening, one blaming the other. And, I'm hearing, Spence was like, yeah, I took some hits because, they wanted this and they wanted that, and I gave it to them. And, I understand it's a career. You got to feed your family. You got to eat too. But when it comes to legacy, you got to make this thing happen. You're gonna end up having, this has been in the making for quite some time. These individuals gonna be like, well, Crawford was past his time. Like y'all took so long that he was on the downhill, or Spence was on the
Mm-hmm.
downhill. You giving them the ammunition to say this type of stuff. But luckily, they both still at their prime. They both still just not, smashing people. So I don't see that. I don't foresee that happening.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it was getting annoying. Like, you know what I mean? With like same thing with Mayweather Pacquiao. You're ready to get that hotel room. Oh,
yeah,
the rumors out there getting me texting and stuff. You gonna get a room? You're gonna go out there, like, let's get the flight sorted, and like how many people like had to get rid of their rooms or change their
yeah,
flight plans? You got to put insurance on it because you just never know like what's gonna happen. Um, but yeah, no, we talked about it. Like we were texting back and forth as soon as Ryan and Tank made that fight and how big it was. Like now I'm hearing rumors that Ryan made like 30 mil. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Sheesh.
I don't know, but if I mean, because they said it's still 1.2,
yeah.
and the back end money is coming in now, and he's allegedly 30 mil. So Tank had to have made, well, I forget what the splits were, but Tank had to have made a pretty penny too. But I think
Yeah.
those two starting that kind of like the best fight and the best and the fight that people want to see that kind of prompted, and now boxing. I mean, it's looking like a great year on the calendar at least.
Most definitely. Yeah, definitely,
Canelo and Charlo later on.
definitely.
Sorry,
And I think,
Cleveland, you were saying something?
yeah, and I think I think it was prompted by definitely prompted by the Ryan Garcia and Tank fight. And I think that stepping out of the boxing realm, I think UFC put a lot of pressure on boxing, you know, because
I
during the
agree.
pandemic, during the pandemic, UFC continued to be active while other sports lay dormant. And during that,
Hmm.
they picked up a whole entirely new fan base because there was no content out. There were no sporting events that were active at the
Hmm.
time. So now they're getting triple, quadruple times what they, as far as viewership, than what they were doing prior to the pandemic. And then it's, it's one entity. So Dana White has full control over the entire roster, and he's a fan. So his whole thought process as being a fan, I want the best fight and the best. There's no holding out
Hmm.
because I don't have to negotiate with anybody. You guys are under contract. You gonna fight, and you gonna fight. You're the number one contender. You're the champ. Everybody wants to see this. You guys are gonna fight, and I think, you know, as we all heard, boxing was dying for a period of time. In a sense, to the casuals, you know what I mean? To the
Hmm.
Hmm.
casuals, boxing was somewhat dead. So it took the Ryan Garcia, who's very popular on Instagram, to fight the Tank, who's very popular amongst boxing enthusiasts, for it to, you know, regain that spark. And once they saw that the risk matched the reward, everybody else had to follow suit, or they were not going to get any views. And
Yeah,
it just made
UFC,
sense.
no tune-ups,
Exactly. There's no tune-ups.
no tune-ups for those
There's
fighters.
no hiding around. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, it it made a whole lot of sense, and I think it's sparking a new era, or reviving the old era, because I think
Hmm.
there was this era of the Hearns, the Leonards, the Haglers, the Durants all fighting each other, and then it was, the Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley's, the Trinidads, the Fernando Vargas's fighting each other. And then came the Money Mayweather era where you protect your
Mhm.
owner. And everybody was
Right.
thinking about the coin as opposed to what my cousin said, the legacy. Now I think everybody's starting to get over that and understand we can get the coin and also the legacy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of that, it seems like it it uh it ended. It both started and ended with Mayweather, right? So
boom,
Pretty Boy Floyd fought everybody.
Mhm.
He fought everybody.
boom,
Put him in front of me. He was talking that cash. Put him in front of me. I'm taking him out.
taking them out.
Then when Money May came, that's when I'm gonna
Everything got
be
everything got
very
very
methodical
personal.
in picking who I fight.
Yep.
Like, all right, I can make this amount of money with this little risk. Let me fight him. I can do that with this one. Let me fight him. And then now that Money May has retired, and he kind of came out himself. Was like, hey, yeah, the best need to be fighting the best, and it's running, hiding, and ducking. And just like it started and ended with you.
Boom.
Yeah.
Businessman, yeah, I get it. You made your coins. You did business move, but then now that you out, like, hey, the best need to fight the best, and no one can say that he didn't do it because he did do it. And then
Mhm.
as he was, we can say the tail end of his career, he was just like, let me rack up these coins, and then I'm out.
Right.
Yeah. I think he's also responsible for the influencer boxing as well because it started with the Conor McGregor and how much money they made. And then next thing you know, like MMA fighters, like, yeah, why can't I jump in the ring with boxers? You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
you had like the YouTubers like getting in on it, and so I think that era kind of started with Floyd because he's still doing that too.
Without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I think you guys touched on something I was going to ask next, like the magnitude of the fight. Do you guys think this is the biggest fight since? Would you say like I know to the casuals it may not be, but us hardcore boxing fans, um, biggest fight since what? Since Floyd and Pacquiao? Because that was watered down at that time as well. Like you were saying, the style they were not in their primes.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare it to Floyd Pacquiao.
Mm,
Uh, and that's who can we compare this fight? What fight can we really compare it to?
I
You know
think
what?
that we
You know me. I compare it to like for the true boxing fans,
mm,
Mosley De La Hoya.
boom.
okay.
I was so hyped
In
for
their
that fight.
prime.
Like they both were in their prime. I said, "Oh God, they made this fight. Who is going to take it?"
Yep.
And it's
Mm,
it's very similar because then they what was it? It was a two fight, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
One at
Yeah.
47,
Twice.
one at 54.
Yeah.
And then we got this here, this rematch clause for both on both sides.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
like for me, the excitement, like hype, I give it to that.
How about you, Cleveland?
I'm I'm so in line with Estado right now, but I'm just I guess because I hear with the Shane Mosley Oscar De La Hoya fight, I think I think that was more built on Oscar De La Hoya's notoriety, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but the true boxing fans and enthusiasts knew
Mm,
Shane Mosley's skill and the for lack of a better term, the scalps that he'd already collected. You know what I mean? So I think this one because everybody knows how good Bud is, and everybody
mm,
he has a true fan base. He brings them out. He sells out arenas. He brings them out, and Earl Smith sells out Cowboy Stadium. Damn near. Yeah, I mean he has a
mm,
huge fan base in Texas.
Yeah.
uh, Bud Crawford has a huge fan base in Omaha, Nebraska, and they both have really exciting boxing styles where you know if it's up to them, it's not going the distance. If it's up, both
Mm-hmm.
Terrence and Spence said this ain't going the distance, and I, for one, I believe it. I mean, I heard what was it? Spence's coach Derek James talking about
Mm-hmm.
how it's two dogs in the fight, and Earl Spence goes in and he's crushing people's orbitals and crushing their ribs and breaking their ribs. And
Yeah.
he's like, this dude talking real good, but once his orbital gets crushed, once his ribs get cracked, we're going to find out how far he can go. I don't think he's going to make it past the 12. And Terrence Crawford ain't seen a bad day in his life, the way this guy talk.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's so
Each time,
intriguing about it.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
each
and I
time
think
Terrence Crawford hit the canvas, the way he bounced back was crazy. So it was like,
so.
yeah, do your damage, because each time we've seen him face adversity,
Yeah.
his bounce back was crazy.
So
The
to
last
answer,
time he faced adversity with Sean Porter, just
Mm-hmm.
with the
yeah,
thought of I'm down, okay, got out there and took Sean out right there.
right,
And each time he got clipped and went down and touched the canvas, oh, you got me? All right, I got some get back for you. Went back and stopped the person.
yeah,
So like this for me, it's exciting because we know Spence is going to bring that.
yeah,
So now, Crawford, are you going to do the same thing? Because you have a history, a trend of doing, whenever you get clipped, you come back even harder.
Mm-hmm.
right,
So like, what's going to happen? It's exciting. Like, okay,
yeah,
you're going to come back for somebody who's ready.
yeah. And to answer your
Yeah.
question, I think it's for me. I think just because of the
Mhm.
notoriety aspect of it and the fact that these guys haven't fought, and I think it's very similar to the Canelo versus Triple G situation because everybody knew Triple G, everybody knew Canelo, everybody was
Yeah,
terrified of
Yeah.
Triple G, everybody knew how special Canelo was. So I
yeah,
think the
this is very
last
true.
fight where it was so good that they had to do a trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so many
very true.
eyes were
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. I can see
As,
that. Yeah.
as
That
far as
that
the
was probably the last one
magnitude,
that. Yeah. I would agree with you there.
and them
I
being
forgot
in
about
their
that one.
prime, and them being in their
Yeah,
prime, and the magnitude of it, like and the purse, I think it's very similar to a Canelo Triple G.
and also living up to its hype. Like it was,
Yeah,
it was exciting. The first
yeah,
fight, it could have gone either way,
Mm-hmm.
and people thought it should have went the other way. They rematched, and it was still an exciting fight. Usually, it's the second fight around is lackluster,
Mm-hmm.
and then number three, but still they did their thing.
right,
Three
right,
exciting fights,
right,
dance partners.
Yeah.
right,
I think you wanted some Cleveland because there was also too like there was both sides of the fence. Like fans of Canelo saying that Triple G was ducking him versus Triple G's
right,
fans saying, "Oh, Canelo's ducking him. You don't want to see him." So I
right.
think, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the two. It wasn't like I don't think from the casual standpoint it was a huge one. I think Canelo has such a big fan base, it's like overrides the casuals a little bit.
Very
Yeah,
true.
But yeah, it was more of a hardcore boxing fan kind of fantasy fight.
You're right, right, right.
Um, with you was pointing out something as well, Estado, like about kind of these both of these dudes, and like I'm just thinking back to like kind of like what made this fight huge was Terrence Crawford kind of had to come up and had to do the undisputed thing, 147, and then he beat Indongo, I think, for the last belt. I can't remember who he took the last belt for. It might have been Victor Postal. I can't remember. But when he became undisputed, the automatic sentiment is everybody wanted to move up. At
hmm
that time, like I think Keith Thurman was probably reigning and Porter was reigning. Your cousin was still out there, and brother was still out there fighting as well. And Errol was kind of, he was coming up.
right.
But I remember like the big thing for him was the Mayweather sparring story at Mayweather Boxing Club,
Yeah,
and that I think
Yeah,
that story brought him up to like where everybody wanted to see him. fighting
Yeah.
and want to see what he was about because he hurt Mayweather in this gym. He was sparring Mayweather. Mayweather kicked him out. Like, damn, he must be good. This kid must be the goods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that happened, and I remember I just started following from that point. And then I think he fought Leonard Bundu that night
Ah,
of the Olympics. It was like after the Olympics they put boxing on, which was
mhm,
a great call by them because a lot of people got to see him. And
mhm.
he knocked out Leonard Bundu nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
crushed.
that's when I was like, okay, this kid he might be good. You know what I mean? He might be the goods like everybody's saying. Maybe the Mayweather story is real. You know what I mean? Like, what
Mhm.
was your first experience like seeing Crawford, both Crawford and Spence, and like, do you guys see them kind of becoming the, reaching this pinnacle where they were going to kind of meet and fight each other and like make the super fight?
Um, for Crawford, I questioned would he be able to fill in like body wise. I know he was getting
Mm-hmm.
older. He was undisputed at 140, and then after he did that, he went up to 47. I'm just like, oh, you kind of a slim 140. Like you made 140 fairly easy. Will your power and speed, accuracy translate well at 47? Because those are some big boys, individuals walking around 165, 170, cutting weight down to 47. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you fight some really big boys. But I think he truly, really filled in and got very comfortable real quick in the 47 division. Earl, he's a big boy. Everybody knows he's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dog. He he stands 10 toes. It's like nobody's gonna make me have me back down. Nobody's gonna talk to me no kind of way. Nobody's gonna treat me no kind of way in the ring. Y'all gonna see me. So that's what we've always seen. And that Mayweather story is the same thing. Like you didn't just because who your name, you ain't finna do or talk to me no kind of way. Like I'm gonna go in there
Mm-hmm.
and hold my own and show y'all who Errol Spence Jr. is. So like I like his mentality. He kind of soft spoken as you can see, and he's like, man, don't try me because I'm about this. This is who I am. This is what I do. Like in the early years, I did not see them clashing. I really didn't because I didn't know what Crawford would do in 47. I had a feeling that Errol would do well in 47.
Yeah.
I was just like, how will Crawford translate and will he get the fights that he needs in order to be a name at 47? Yeah, you're undisputed at 40. Some people go undisputed at 40 and then disappear when they move up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my question. Like, will he disappear and just be known as the undisputed champion at 40? But no, he turned around and dominated in the next weight class. And, he's kind of mentioned about the next weight class. He's like, after this, I don't mind moving up to 54. And you see how he's been talking to Mel. Like, Mel, get in the ring. I'll take you out too. That's
Mm-hmm.
54. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
it was hard for me to see it.
How about
I
you, Cleveland?
I love I love Terrence Crawford's mentality. I love both of them mentality, man. Earl Spence, I mean, just piggybacking off of Estado, just very mild mannered Clark Kent type, just very soft
Mm-hmm.
spoken. But when it's time for action, that dude is like a nightmare. He's like a walking Grim Reaper. And I want to say initially when I saw Earl, he just looked strong. You know what I mean? He looked strong and he looked fundamentally sound. And he was
Mm-hmm.
pushing in with a lot of pressure, and his whole style, same style that he's noted for and famous for, is just walking you down and dogging you out pretty much. And you see, to a trained eye, you see the little expertise technique in the walk down. You know what I mean? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Terrence Crawford, he reminds me of he's like a Sugar Ray Leonard mixed with Hearns type of vibe
Mm-hmm.
where he's
Mhm.
so gifted technically, but he's gonna try to knock your head off on some, you know what I mean, some Hearns type shit. And I didn't see them. I didn't even put them in the same train of thought actually when they first got into boxing. I just saw Terrence Crawford, and he seemed like a little guy. So when I
Hmm.
spoke to Estado and spoke to my brother Andre and heard that Crawford was doing his thing, and I saw him doing his thing, and I saw Spence doing his thing, but for me, I was so familiar with the welterweight division because Andre was in it. I said, "Whew!" Everybody's talking about him, and everybody's heard that legendary, that legendary sparring session with Floyd. And I was like, you know what I mean? It was like, it was like locker room legend, gym legend.
Yeah.
So you just hear it, and so I just wanted to see if it was gonna come to fruition that this kid was the next coming, because his name is the Truth, and he was doing his thing, but I thought he had so many obstacles at that time. He had the Keith
Yeah.
Thurman, who at that time looked
Yes.
so good. He looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And Sean Porter looked aggressive. So I thought with Earl Spence, I'm like, he has a dog type style, but Sean Porter got a bull type style. He'll headbutt the hell out of you. You know what I mean? While he's fighting you. And then there's, guys, there's Cal Brook, there's so many people in that. Danny Garcia, he had a gauntlet to get through to get to that title. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to see a young prospect and see how he was going to do against these superstars, because that welterweight division was full of superstars. Um, and I think at that time was Canelo like at 154 or something like that at that time.
Yeah, Canelo's at 54.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was something like that. And I
But
think
that's
Canelo
that's
was a
around
little
the time
smaller,
before.
and I think he was kind of hopping back and forth to 54, 50, 47, kind of vibe.
60.
Yeah,
Mm.
60. He was all over the place because he was Canelo. He could do whatever he wanted, catch weights, fighting people. So I never put them in the same thought. And then eventually Terrence Crawford started doing his thing, and Earl Spence started clearing out the division, and Crawford started talking about going up to 47. And the fact that they had a lot of banter back and forth, and I was like, oh, shoot, this could happen. And just like what Estado said, I thought that Crawford was a little small. I'm like, there's no way that this.
Hmm.
I don't think this power is going to translate up. These guys are too big. But proved everybody wrong, man. Strong mental and very technical and very dog. Very much of a dog fighter.
Yeah. I thought the big fight was him and Thurman. That's the one that everybody was talking about for forever. And Thurman, people would always ask Thurman, "Are you gonna fight Spence?" So that was
Yeah.
the one everybody was thinking of. You know what I mean? And then he kept taking time off, and Crawford kept doing his thing and came up, and that's when that I think that became big. I agree with you both though about him being small, because that was everybody's theory. Like, oh, he's gonna be too small for Spence. He's gonna be too like that's Spence is gonna dog walk him because he's bigger than him. But I think what changed my mind and where I really thought the fight might happen is when they met up. I think it was at the Hooker fight in Texas. Remember they met face to face for that first time. You're like, damn, he's a little taller than him, but he's not that much bigger. And then you could see the intensity in their faces. You could see the intensity in Crawford's face, and you could see Spence's like, I'm not backing down. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember Terrence told him too. What do you say? Save my number. Put my number in your phone or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, they were
yeah,
just
yeah.
going back and forth. Remember that?
Those
Yeah,
guys
and
are
so
funny.
like
Those
that's
guys
when I
are
was
funny.
like, okay, this fight might actually happen. Yeah, they're funny together.
They are
And
funny
so
together.
yeah,
They
that's when I was
complement
like,
each
okay,
other.
this fight might actually go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they do. And so like I think it's happening at the right time. Like both of them, for undisputed. Imagine, Terrence undisputed at 140 and then 147. Imagine that, you know what I mean? Spence won first if Spence gets it first undisputed at 147. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things on the line here for both of them.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do a quick rundown and see what you guys think. Like, because the one thing people do is like compare them in all these different categories. So I wanted to ask both of you, like, kind of one by one, who would you give the power edge to? I'll start with you, Estella.
I think that's Spence no brainer.
Hmm.
Spence being at 47 and just living 47 since the start of his career. That's yeah, definitely.
How about you, Cleveland?
I would say the same. I think he would as far as power, I think he has a lot of good leverage on his punches, can push Terrence around. Yeah, I would say that.
I, I would agree with both of you. I would think though Terrence has kind of like sneaky power,
Yeah,
where Spence is like wear you down power. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like Spence, it like Crawford could get you out like with a surprise shot that you didn't see and like a pinpoint accuracy, hit you in the right spot. And so his
Mhm.
power is like to me a little different. Where Spence
It's
is
more
like
technique.
he has that power that's just gonna wear you down over time. Yeah, more technical.
Yeah, more precise
Um,
in timing.
how about yeah, he's more of a sniper, and
Yeah,
Spence is sitting you hitting you with shotgun shells.
yeah, exactly.
Um, how about defense? Cleveland, what do you think on the defensive side? Who would you give the edge to?
On the defensive side, I think even though I love Earl's defense, he has a nice high guard, walks in
Yeah.
traditional good stance. I like Terrence's defense because I like his
Hmm.
hip placement, the way he slides back and counters. I like his defense
Hmm.
as opposed because Earl
How about you, Estado?
Earl's in the
Oh,
pocket
sorry.
and he's digging, but he gets
Hmm.
caught and boom, boom, boom. He's in the pocket. He's there for you. Terrence is not there for
Hmm.
you most of the times. You know what I mean? Even though, he gets caught sometimes, but
Estado, how about you?
I was thinking about the same earlier today. I was like, I'll give. I was thinking about defense. The fight is exciting. I was already thinking about it, just sitting around, and I was like, Crawford has a better defense simply because Spence is always in your chest, so he's getting hit more.
yeah.
He's even though he got the high guard, the tight guard, and all of that,
Hmm.
those punches are coming through. He's getting hit more. So um, I give it to Crawford. Crawford's in and out, the head movement, slipping, the countering, and his fighting style is based off of countering. Crawford is not waiting to counter. He's going to take it all. Like I'm gonna initiate. I'm gonna try to counter too. But yeah, Crawford for the
I
defense.
would agree with you both. I think Errol takes to give a lot of times. But I would say too, I think he can change his style up. A lot of people don't think he is diverse enough to kind of change his style up to. But we've seen it in Mikey Garcia. He kind of boxed a little bit more,
Hmm.
and was like a little bit more defensively responsible. But yeah, I would tend to agree with you both on Crawford. Um, what about ring generalship? Who you think's the guy that has like the better footwork, the better, always in the area he needs to be in? Starter.
I'll go with Crawford on that one. Crawford used the entire ring. He's always moving, even if he's moving on his back feet or he's kind of pressuring at the same time. He knows where he is at all times. Like, yeah, I give it to him. Not saying that Spence doesn't do it and doesn't have the ring generalship, but I
Mm-hmm.
think Crawford's um, his mentality, his view and focus of that, like it's instant. Like, he knows what he's doing.
How about you, Cleveland?
I would agree. Terrence Crawford, for him to be as successful as he is in boxing right now, he has to have that ring generalship and footwork because he's a smaller guy. He
Mm-hmm.
came into boxing as a smaller guy, so he had to be a lot more technical. He grew into the weight, so that's why sometimes you see him get into his, Nebraska dog, and he pushes into cats and boom, boom, boom. He'll
Mm-hmm.
dog with you a little bit, but I think that he can dictate how he wants to fight to play out. And Earl Spence is just very,
um,
boom, trained. He going straight forward.
stamina. I mean, that's so. First of all, going backwards, yeah, I agree with you both. And then Terrence's ability to switch stances, and the fact that like he kind of I think he reads more than Spence, and he'll make the changes on the fly. Where Spence is just like, I'm just gonna dog you out. He can, like I said in the Mikey Garcia fight, he kind of switched up a little bit and boxed a little bit more. But I think Terrence just, if he's not liking what's going on as a orthodox fighter, switch to southpaw and
Right.
vice versa.
Yeah.
Um, what about stamina? This is one I was trying to rack my brain on. I can't. I've never seen either of these guys like really tired or anything. What do you guys think,
Yeah. I would say
Cleveland?
that's fine.
Or
Like
sorry,
neither.
good.
I haven't seen neither one of them tired to the point where they're losing quality of work. If they're tired, you see it, but they're pushing through it. So like
Mm-hmm.
I, some fighters you can be like, well, once you get into the later rounds, man, he's going to start falling apart. Neither one of them have I ever seen in later rounds fall apart. They just
Mm-hmm.
stuck to the game plan, pushed through the exhaustion or whatever it is, and you barely could tell that they were exhausted, and then still come out on top.
How about you, Cleveland?
I I agree, but I would lean towards Earl Spence because I think that that's all that his style is dependent upon. You getting tired
Mm-hmm.
and him dogging you out. Whereas Terrence Crawford could be in a nice, smooth technical fight and try to win it, or he could be in a dog fight and things get a little, because he's a smaller dude and he's more technical and more wiry, things might get a little sloppy sometimes, even though Terrence is very, very technically sound, crisp fighter. I've seen certain things get a little wild, you know what I mean, from in the later rounds
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. But that doesn't mean he's tired, but things get a little wild. Whereas Earl Spence, I've never seen
Um.
his hands drop. I've never seen anything.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like he could go. It looked like
Yeah,
he could
his
go
strength
20
and
rounds.
conditioning is crazy.
And everything. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it looks. Yeah, even in his workouts, you see him in his workouts. He's working out in 105-degree weather or temperatures in that gym in Texas. His whole game plan is to wear you out.
So now's like the kind of the time that I wanted to really get to. Like, what would you say your strategy would be for both fighters and things they should do, things they should avoid, and then also follow up with your prediction. Estado, if you were training Errol, what would you kind of be? What would be your points of emphasis for him really on both the defensive side and the offensive side, and the same for Crawford, and then your prediction.
Um, for Crawford, I mean for Spence, he already does it. He does it, and then I would just say just be more aware of it. Time it. Get the feel them
Hmm.
out, do your thing, catch and shoot. Is catch and shoot because Crawford's gonna wait. Crawford's gonna hit from angles and keep moving, but then that's Crawford hit and most likely reach because he has that long reach. Spence will have to catch and shoot. Learn it. Well, I'm not gonna say learn how to counter, but he knows how to counter. But it's just gonna be very dependent on that. And then whenever it does get sloppy, as Cleveland said, that's when you pounce and do your thing, do what you know how to do. Work that body up and down. Um, I think Crawford's body is open enough for Spence, and Spence is a crazy body worker. So
Hmm.
like Derek James said, crack those ribs, man. It's very possible with being weird, real wiry and having to shoot
Hmm.
up or shoot long, and then Spence times it as he shoots, slip, and throw a body shot at the same time. Right leverage, right angle, crack. It can be real problems. For Crawford, keep switching because I feel like Errol is more used to fighting orthodox individuals.
Hmm.
So with Crawford knows how to fight southpaw individuals or orthodox individuals because he's swapping it in and out. I would say just keep Crawford would need to keep Spence on his toes and pretty much keep him having to adjust. All right, he's orthodox. All right, he's southpaw because you have to step your feet certain ways when you're throwing your punches, depending on their stance. So just keep him having to think like about what I'm doing. A lot of times, my advice to fighters when they're in fights, I'm saying, hey, go in there, have fun, stick to your game plan. Don't worry about what they're doing. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you game over. So if Crawford is able to do that to Spence to take him off of his mindset and off of his game plan, like I got to keep switching my feet. Oh, he's orthodox, he's southpaw. I got to step here, I got to do that. He's out of his game plan. Like he can't think about what he needs to execute because he's thinking about what Crawford has to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Prediction.
my take on it. As for results, man, like everybody else, it's a toss up. It's really a toss up. If I had to choose, I'll go Spence.
Cool. Yeah. Cleveland, what are your thoughts on strategy for both fighters, and then your prediction?
Ooh, okay. Start with Spence. I think Spence, piggybacking off of Estado, and this is what I've been thinking about this entire time because Terrence's his frame is not that big, even though he's starting to fill into it. Earl Spence has to do what Earl Spence has been doing. He has to hurt this dude, like really hurt him. Like after the fight, you have to go to the hospital. So he has to break his ribs. So he has to be in there and crack. Like his mentality has to be, I'm going to break his ribs and I'm going to crack his cheekbone and things like that, because Terrence Crawford is a very agile, very technically sound fighter. You know what I mean? He has the dog in him, but you know, when you're on the edge, I think Terrence Crawford's in that mindset, but Spence has to make him think about, yo, is this worth dying for in this ring today? Is this worth dying for? And keeping his hands up, being aware of the sneaky stuff. He's going to be changing stances, going from southpaw to orthodox and stuff, and find a way to continue to cut off the ring, make the ring as small as possible.
Yeah.
And punish. That's the thought process, has to be continuously punished. And that's Earl Spence in every fight. But just keeping his hands up, because he's, you know, sometimes Spence will get caught with something crazy and Terrence has sneaky power. So I think that's Earl Spence's strategy. Terrence Crawford, hey man, we could promote the fight being a dog fight all day, but when we get in there, you got to be a sniper. Because that's a bull. You got to be a matador. Be a matador and spear the hell out of this guy. Yeah, and then switch up the stance and turn. Pop, 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 turn. Pop, 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 pop. And going back to what Stato said, make him have to continue to reset, because Earl Spence is like a juggernaut. He just wants to run through walls. He wants to run downhill the entire fight. Run downhill. If you could just make him have to stop, plant, turn, stop, plant, turn, stop, plant, turn, before you know it, within the 6th round, Earl Spence has got to be, all right, let me just stand here. And once he stands right there, that's Terrence Crawford's game all day. He going to sit there, pop, 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 touch it, switch, pop, 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 pop. And now he's in a chess match with a chess master. You know what I mean? And once he gets frustrated, you know, it leans more towards Terrence Crawford, even though Earl Spence is a very mentally strong guy. My prediction, I guess when everything is so even across the board, I just lean towards the bigger guy, the naturally bigger guy. You know what I mean? Earl Spence. I go with Earl Spence. I lean toward Earl.
Spence.
Yeah. Even though
decision.
Decision. I mean, you know what? I think for the purpose of this fight, and legacy and just the mindset of both of these guys, I don't think it's going to go a decision. I think somebody going to knock somebody out or stop somebody. I think somebody going to stop somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the heart of both fighters
I don't think
is going to make it to where, yo, fuck that 12 rounds. Pardon my French. I know we're on your podcast. My apologies. I get it passionate.
Oh, good. No, we good.
Yo, fuck the 5 rounds. Let's.
Yeah.
You whoop my ass, I whoop your ass. Let's just figure it out tonight. Let's just figure it out tonight. Let's let it not go to the judges. You know what I mean? When we get to these latter rounds.
Same for you, Estado. Knockout.
Yeah.
Knockout. Okay.
It had for Errol to win. I think it has to be a knockout.
Yeah.
I think I take a little bit from both of you. I think Earl has to cut off the ring. I think he has to go to Terrence's body. I just think he has to be careful coming into, like, he has to just be careful because Terrence got them sneaky uppercuts. Terrence, throws some odd angles. But yeah, he definitely has to cut off the ring and punish that body. And, enforces, like, if he's bigger, stronger than Terrence, enforces will on him. You know what I mean? And I think jumping on Terrence early as well, because Terrence takes a little while to get going sometimes. You know what I mean? He's not a fast starter. So
Right.
Earl jumps on him. I think that's a good thing for Earl. For Terrence, I think, like you said, Cleveland just moving around, keeping – because if you watch Earl fight, he fights with a rhythm. You know what I mean? He'll throw that jab and sweep the hook to the body.
Yep.
Throw that jab, sweep that hook to the body. He'll just kind of start following. If it's working, he'll follow a pattern.
Plugging along.
Yeah, and he's moving forward and throwing those combinations. And I think if Terrence can get him off rhythm, not let him ever get into that rhythm of throwing that jab and that sweeping hook, that's good. And he's got to keep moving, keep switching stances, keep confusing him, and just mentally frustrate him. I think Earl has to physically frustrate Terrence, and I think Terrence has to mentally frustrate Spence. But yeah, my prediction, I don't know, man. That's what makes this fight so good because both of them are dogs, and I think Terrence can't get into a dog fight with Spence either because if you get into a dog fight with Spence, I think he just has to be smart and fight smart and be the sniper that you mentioned, Cleveland. But yeah, both of them are dogs, and it's just like that's why this fight is amazing. That's why it's beautiful. That's why I'd encourage any casual fan to watch it. You know what I mean? Tune in on the 29th on Showtime pay-per-view. Or if you're out in Vegas, go to you probably can't get a ticket at this point, but unless you got the money like that to buy it off the third party market. But go to the closed circuit and go and watch the fight. But yeah, I encourage anybody, like all my friends that are casual fans, I only tune in for like the big names. Like these are the big names, these are the biggest names, and future of boxing I think is dependent on this. These guys have a good showing. Have a trilogy. I mean, imagine how far this is going to go. Because we haven't had a good trilogy in boxing in God knows how long.
Right.
So, yeah, just wrapping up now. I want to thank you guys for both being on. I know we'll be talking throughout the fight and probably talking after the fight. But Cleveland, I wanted to let you let everybody know where they can find you. I know you have some projects I didn't even know about. Maybe mention the projects you have and how people can find you. We're going to put everything in our listing at the bottom of the screen, YouTube and so forth. But yeah.
Well, you can find me on Cleveland Berto on Instagram and I guess all my social media handles. I have Invincible by Robert Kirkman coming out end of this year, season 2 of that. I also have a beautiful project coming out on Hulu at the end of this year, Supremes. Yeah, watch the fight. It's going to be monumental. It's going to be epic.
For sure. And the start of I know you're simple with the socials, so just throw them out there for us.
No social, no anything, but as everyone said, man, definitely tune in for the fight. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to talk about it. Man, the hype is real, and I've been thinking about it, and we're 1 week away from it. So, yeah, definitely tune in. I'd like to see the predictions. If you watch this video, definitely comment. Let me know your predictions, your thoughts. and maybe we'll wrap back around and do a
Follow up.
recap and see what our thoughts and see if it lived up to the hype.
For
Right,
sure,
right,
man. Yeah,
right.
we could do that for sure.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, and thanks, Asado. Yeah, we want everybody to comment, like, subscribe, and just join in on the conversation. And yeah, we'll be chopping this up and putting clips out there. Just comment on them and see who was right and what strategy kind of worked out for either guy. But that being said, Ricky Alphonse, CEO of Extropian, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in, and yeah, have a blessed week. See you guys.